What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers, there will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, the Fast Forward and the Furious.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for future episodes, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just a few bucks a month, and you'll gain early access to both our audio and our video episodes before they are released to the general public.
Ivan, I'm tired.
Tired of
Because
what?
it's the first day since daylight saving time kicked in, and we lost an hour.
It's true, and I felt that hour pretty hard.
Yeah. Now we're tired, and that's why we're going to be low energy. And also now people know roughly when we record this podcast. It's just the first time we've recorded since
Ever.
Since ever. It's the
Right.
first time we've done it. This actually is one of our first episodes since we launched, so we're still getting our feet in the air, which is maybe a phrase. So we're happy if you're listening.
How are you sitting while we're recording this podcast?
We welcome your feedback. I have very short little legs that dangle off the bottom of my chair. It's fun.
They're just up in the air. Going, "Whee!"
You know what's really cruel, I think, is that they scheduled the Academy Awards for the day of the time change. So all these hot celebrities and movie stars got to be going to the Oscars, getting awards and giving speeches on 1 hour less of sleep.
It's true.
That's cruel.
I mean, the only person who was ready and raring for that was Cocaine Bear. He was awake, got the cocaine in him. He's ready.
That's true.
He's raring.
I should point out, at least canonically in the film, Cocaine Bear is a female bear.
Oh, okay. Well,
I just wanted to be accurate for the podcast before we get any emails. I want to make sure that's known.
I'm pretty sure during the Oscar simulcast they were referring to Cocaine Bear as a him.
Well, they messed up big time. They should be really punished for it because that's not okay. But how about those Oscars? Sometimes we watch the Oscars and have opinions on them because, you know, as humans who watch movies, you tend to have those. What did you think of the ceremony this year?
It was not bad. The host was Jimmy Kimmel, and he's, you know, I like when a host is a Tonight Show, or I mean, not Tonight Show, but a talk show host, because they kind of have that feel for it. They keep the time moving. This one was only half an hour over the expected allotted time.
It was about 3.5 hours, right? Total.
Yeah, it ended a little bit past 11:30.
Yeah.
So
I know
wasn't
because
bad.
Yeah, so you know, we were talking before the show. I always watch the Tim Heidecker's On Cinema thing, which if you can look that up if you don't know what it is, it's a comedy thing, but they always have an Oscar special during the Oscars every year that's live, and that ended before the real Oscars.
So did it really?
Yeah, I was like, oh wow,
great.
that's still going. It gets long. But when I saw the Oscars, like you said, it seems like they avoided any major disasters this year.
Right, which wasn't really that hard compared to last year's Oscars when someone assaulted somebody on stage, you know.
Yeah, and they also nobody read the wrong movie or something for Best Picture, you know.
Was that last year as well?
No, that was 2 or 3 years before that.
Okay.
So they've had their share of screw ups. But I thought that most of the awards were well deserved. There were, you know, a couple surprises, but I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once a lot. So I was really happy that it won Best Picture and all those other awards.
I need to go see it now because it was on my radar, but now that it's I've seen certain things, I need to go check that film out.
You got to check it out. I got it on the Blu-ray.
Oh, nice.
Over, we can snuggle up on the couch together and watch.
That'll be a Patreon only thing that you guys can view. It'll be a live stream of us watching a movie.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely got to go check that out. But yeah, it was fun.
Now, what do you overall think of it's been a while since you fully watched the Oscars. Do you what do you think of the the picking of the movies and the controversy behind that every year.
You mean, yeah, just in general, like, do I
Yeah, like
vibe
what
with their
movies
choices or
get.
not?
Yeah, like did you vibe with their choices this year?
This year I did. I actually I tweeted this, so if, you know how on the Twitter you tweet things?
Are you verified? Did you buy your
That
verification?
of course, I actually pay for 2 verifications just in case one fails.
Good.
This was the first year that I could think of in at least 15 years. I looked back at past winners that my favorite movie of the year was also the Best Picture winner.
And it's also like this year's Best Picture winner was also, it's not an indie film, but it has like an indie vibe to it. Like it wasn't like a big
Sure.
Hollywood blockbuster. It wasn't Top Gun Maverick. You
I
know,
mean, it might qualify as the definition of indie is sometimes a little bit mysterious, but
right,
A24 I think counts as an indie studio. I think
right. They're not one of
technically
the big, what is it, five now production studios that are in the market.
Disney
Um,
didn't buy them yet. That check
right.
didn't clear yet.
And I'm
But
also, what did
yeah.
you think about James Cameron not being there?
Oh, he didn't show up?
He did not show up, and neither did there's somebody else big that didn't show up, but it's blanking on me right now.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, well, he's got things to do. He's down in the ocean discovering new life. He's making 8 more avatars right now.
Well, it
He's
was it because people were like joking that he wasn't there because he didn't want to be like there was like a controversy behind it, like because of the
I
movie
don't
and stuff like that. But
I don't blame
oh,
anybody for not showing up.
because he wasn't for best director.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's why
I
they
mean,
were
I
saying
do
he wasn't
think
there.
the it's one of some of the awards are just dumb, and you do go, well, if the movie was nominated for Best Picture, shouldn't they all also be nominated for Best
Right.
Director? And why does one go without the other? It's all pretty arbitrary,
Right. It's
but
all whoever paid money and whatever to get in there.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm
But there are
surprised
some nice
because
moments.
it was on Channel 7 this year, I believe. And they're
Hmm.
owned by Disney, so I'm surprised like Disney just didn't be like you're putting our movie in there to win.
Well, I think it's always on ABC. I think it's always been, at
Is it
least
always
since I
ABC?
was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not. It's like 95 years or whatever. But
Right. Which also we were
since
talking about this while the Oscars were going on. This is a little bit off topic. It's amazing to me that like we are in the 100 years of films. Like all
yeah,
like there's a whole big thing about Warner
yeah,
Brothers during the Oscars. This is their 100th anniversary. And I'm going through, I'm like, yeah, the first talkie was like 100 years ago. The first color, like, it's insane to me that it's like it's 100 years.
yeah, it's been around a long time.
Yeah,
We're coming up on that. I remember back in the day, you'd go into the Nickelodeon and you'd put a nickel in,
right.
and then you'd put another nickel in to the Nickelodeon, and that's
Now,
how you would watch movies.
when you're watching a movie at home, do you like to watch the entire film, or do you like skip through the film at certain points?
That's a great. I mean, I got all these Oscar movies. You raise a good point because it can be hard to keep up with them.
Hmm.
You got to make time to watch them all.
Hmm.
And your suggestion seems like a great one to make that happen for you.
Right.
And as it happens, that does also coincidentally happen to be the subject of today's case, which we're going to get to finally right now, the moment you've been waiting for. Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our description, in the episode description, and it revolves around an individual that we're going to call Skip. Skip has a somewhat unique method of getting through movies and TV shows, a method that surprised some of Skip's friends when they learned about it. Upon discovering that Skip managed to get through an entire 5 seasons of television in only a few days, they said, "What's your secret, Skip?" And Skip revealed, "Oh, my secret is I have a simple trick. When
What
there's
is
a
that?
scene that doesn't seem important or interesting, I just skip through it." Skip says that they have experienced enough stories and media in their lifetimes that they're now capable of predicting the outcomes or story beats of certain scenes, and therefore sitting through them seems like a waste of time. And Skip insists that they still enjoy the plot and the overall viewing experience, but Skip's friends argue that the creators of the show or movie worked hard on those scenes and that those scenes deserve to be watched because they were meant to be watched. Now, as dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's our job to determine whether skip skirting is skillful skimming or if it's skeptically sketchy and stipulates skewering.
And the Oscar for that speech goes to Jonathan Esses. There you go.
Oh my God. I have so many people to thank.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're out of
Uh,
time.
oh, I shouldn't touch my face with this gavel. It's filthy.
Yeah.
Now,
we've had this in the streets.
yeah. We found these in a dumpster and next to some heroin needles. And
I still have the needles.
Then they weren't ours. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. We took
took
those
them.
too.
Right.
There
Recycle.
was still some heroin in them. I don't know who
so
threw
why
those
not?
out. I don't know how heroin works.
Mm.
Like, is it a needle? You do it with a needle, right?
The only thing I do with the needle is insulin. So that's it.
Gotcha. Well, we'll change that in a few weeks.
All right.
Write in, folks, and let us know what you think we should start using this for. Now, back to today's case.
Mhm.
Yeah, Skip does a thing. Skip skips. Skips shows and movies. Now, we all know how hard it is to watch things these days because there is so much content out there. Am I right? All the streams.
So many streams, so many content. You can't cross them. You can't cross your streams.
And yet they often do. They're very close to each other. I'm
Right.
looking at Netflix and Hulu and I'm like, dude, actually, well, Hulu, sometimes they do overlap. Sometimes the streams do cross.
Actually, that would be I'm surprised whoever owns that movie doesn't like have a commercial about like Sony owns that. Okay. But they don't have a streaming platform. Because that would be a whole good gimmick.
This is kind of a weird tangent. It's weird. You just said that. I swear I read an article like a week ago where Sony said, like, someone asked them about us having a streaming platform and they said, like, yeah, we just think it's easier to let other people handle it and just get paid to let them do it.
I mean, it makes sense.
I wish more studios said that.
Right. So Sony is okay with streaming, crossing streams.
Yeah, they're good with. They're all about it.
Good.
A little antithetical. By the way, the movie for all the Zoomers out there is Ghostbusters. I don't know if the Zoomers know.
Oh, which Ghostbusters?
What do you mean? There's only one Ghostbusters. Leslie Jones, Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy.
Right. The all-female Ghostbusters.
I don't understand. That's like saying the cats. What other kind of Ghostbusters is there?
Back in like the 80s, there was an all-male version of Ghostbusters. It was like
I don't find the idea of 3 or 4 men being that good of friends believable.
He's right.
It's not realistic to me. I think it has to. That's why it has to be women. All right. Is this something that we all feel, right? Right?
What about having friends that are Ghostbusters?
Having too much to watch. How do you handle all the stuff there is to watch, whether it be movies or TV shows?
I was thinking about this last night while watching the Oscars. I didn't have time to watch a lot of the Oscar movies. Because, like, if you think about it, every one of those movies is roughly 2.5 hours or 2 hours, let's say.
A couple of them are over 3.
Like, you are just going to have stuff you're not going to see. And for a while, I was having fear of missing out syndrome. But if I don't want to see the movie, I'm not going to see it. That's why I'm very picky and choosy on what things I do watch. There's just stuff you're going to miss, but I'd rather miss something and then maybe pick it up in a few years where there's a lull than do what this person does.
Is that something that has always been the case for you, or is it something that you've found as time has gone on, it's gotten harder to keep up with stuff? Did you used to like watch everything?
I did used to watch everything back when everything was like on cable or on, DVD. There was a lot less content that I was watching. So like, sure, you'd, as a family, we would sit around and watch, let's say, Friends. But then like, Whose Line Is It Anyway was famously against Friends for a while. You would have to either pick and choose which one you would watch or put a VHS on.
You mean they were on at the same time? I thought you meant that, like, famously, Ryan Stiles made a bunch of anti-Friends remarks.
Probably.
Probably did that. Like, I don't remember all those improv sketches where they
were anti-Friends.
Jennifer Aniston. And I feel like there's a big difference now with streaming services in the way we watch things because back in the day, again, this is for the Zoomers.
Hmm.
You would just kind of have cable on all
Right.
the time. And a lot of shows I feel like you would sort of absorb that way. You might not have watched like a season beginning to end, but after enough time, you channel flip enough, like you've kind of seen all these
Enough.
shows.
Right.
And yeah, then when DVDs started coming out, it was like, okay, well, I can choose a DVD and catch up on it, or rent a movie, from wherever. That of course was a thing before then.
Right.
And now it's like a conscious choice always. I'm going to sit and watch this thing. And I think that feels like that's more pressure, and it feels like more of a time commitment, even though you might have spent just as much time watching regular cable uh, 10
Well,
years
if you think
ago.
about it, so cable, there was, let's say, just on the network shows that we're just talking about right now, the 2, 4, 5, and
6 8,
7. Um, so you
that we
had
appreciate.
the the good shows were from like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Right, right.
The must see TV. So there was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
X amount of shows that you could watch. So like let's say so that's 4 shows per night. Let's say that's 16 shows a week, right?
Easy. Done and done.
But like now, but they were also 20 plus episode seasons. So now I do think there is a lot more, but an average season is between 8 and 12 episodes.
Mm.
So you
Right,
still
that's
can
certainly true.
like you could power through. Like I'm a big like I don't watch shows new. I'll wait until a full season is out and then power through a full one season in a night.
Mm,
That is
mhm.
my version of skipping, let's say. Like I don't worry about like I don't go into an office, so I really don't care about water cooler talk or like I'll just power through a full 8 episodes in 2 days.
But you sure will watch The Office, because that's some water cooler talk we can all enjoy.
Yeah, yeah it is.
Now I have now I have moving on from that. I feel like the past equivalent of channel of skipping, as
Mhm.
we're referring to it in today's case, is kind of like channel flipping. Of course, if a commercial came up, you might flip to another channel,
Right.
but you might maybe you also were you're watching the Full House, and you're like, okay, I don't need to watch this Kimmy Gibbler scene play out. I know she's gonna wreak some havoc in the Tanner household.
Mhm.
I'm gonna flip over and check out what Urkel's doing on
Right.
the other network.
They
And
may have been on the same network. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's they may have been. Or
Get
Full
your
House. Yeah,
facts right.
yeah. I think they were both ABC. Full
It was
House is
a it
definitely
was
ABC
TGIF,
because they went to Disneyland.
right?
Full
And that was a
House.
thing that everyone had to do.
They all did. Every show back then went to Disneyland.
Well, because it was when ABC and Disney merged companies.
Yeah, yeah. But now
Kids, ask
there's
your parents.
no there's no pressure in that way anymore. Like you said, there was the FOMO thing back then of literally, if I don't watch this thing, it's gone.
Right. Because you don't know if they were going to
Now,
rerun it in the summer. You didn't know
yeah,
if you were
it
ever going to
might
see it again
never.
because they didn't put things on VHS.
There was no YouTube. It was gone. It was
Right.
gone, unless you had to put a little tape, or until TiVo was invented. It was a little bit
Right.
better too. But now it's like you can take your time, you can wait around forever, and I think that's I mean, it's a good thing overall. We shouldn't
Mhm.
we shouldn't feel we shouldn't feel pressured to live our lives that way. Now the only pressure comes from other people, the social
Right.
discussion of it. And I think that may contribute partially, maybe not specifically to Skip in this case, but I'm guessing I don't think Skip is alone. I don't think Skip is fully alone in this. I think there are people out there who do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think part of that may be due to the pressures of society of being like, if you haven't seen The Last of Us, then how can we can't talk to you this week? What are we supposed to
Right.
talk about? I don't know.
Now,
Have you ever felt
my
that pressure?
occasionally, but like I'm trying to think of like ways that I do this, and there are some podcasts that I listen to sped up so
Oh
that
no,
I
this is
can.
This is a similar, related, but different thing. So yeah, I'd like to hear
So,
your
like,
take
there
on that.
are certain podcasts, like, I listen to the show The Office Ladies, and I speed through that on, like, 1.5
I'm glad we're back
because
to The Office.
The Office is everywhere always. Because it's not like a comedy, but it is a comedy podcast, but it's a rewatch podcast. So if you don't need the comic timing, you don't need the pauses to be fully there. So like those podcasts or news podcasts, I will listen to on sped up play, but I am still getting the full content of said podcast.
Would you ever do that with do you ever do that on YouTube, for instance, a video? Because YouTube has that option built in.
I can't. I think the only time I ever had to do that was when we used to do our old show and I was trying to review movies. And if it was like a 6 hour long silent German film, I would put that on fast. What movie
You
was that?
don't
That was
want the 6 hour long silent German film? There's Napoleon or
I,
Greed. That was
it
a
might have
real
been
long one.
Napoleon that I put on quick.
Yeah, we used to watch a bunch of movies on another thing. Yeah,
But like
I there, like yeah, no, 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 no,
I
no,
can't make
no, no,
myself do
please.
that for a movie now.
People might be listening to us right now, sped up.
So
It
let's
could
talk
be happening.
slower
Yeah, that's
to
perfect.
confuse them.
Yeah, there's something. So I don't really do that with anything.
Right.
I don't begrudge it, like you said, when it's more of an informational thing for a podcast. I get it, but there's something where I still just feel maybe I'm not used to it. My mind will
Right.
wander and I'll miss a chunk, or I just feel like it feels wrong.
Right.
I want to hear the human, especially like you said, a show like if it's mainly about the comedy or the interactions between the hosts. I want to hear all the little ums.
Right.
I
Unlike
like
the
those.
show, which is perfect.
We
And
never
you
have any of that kind of thing.
right.
You
No.
add those in post
Yeah.
to make it more natural.
But for a
Yeah.
TV show or a movie, like, so what Skip does is skips parts of the show where they think it's not important to them, which
Right.
as I was reading it, no, I could never do this. That's what the sighing was because like if you just want to watch the segments, then go read a recap of it on like NPR or who does the I forget. There's some website that does the recaps of TV shows, and like just get your
Wikipedia.
or like go watch a YouTube clip of the show. Like that's I'll do that with the Tonight Show or SNL. Like I have not watched a full through SNL or the Tonight Show in years. But if there's a clip on Instagram or whatever, I'll watch the said clip.
That's what I did with the Oscars, basically, the
Right.
other night.
But for like a
Yeah,
scripted TV show, like I couldn't imagine watching, let's go back to The Office again. I couldn't imagine skipping through parts of The Office because there are hidden little like written gems that like, oh, somebody sighs in a background of somebody's joke or, something that makes the show a whole because it was written to be that way. It's like I know you are huge on like listening to albums as a full album instead of a clip of a song,
that's true. I
which
am a
makes
weirdo in
sense.
that way.
That makes sense because it was composed to be made like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that's just a I don't even know. I guess it is old fashioned because you didn't used to be able to,
Skip.
just listen to a song.
Right.
Although I mean, you could, but you'd have to like fumble with the
The
needle on the
needle
record
or
player,
right.
or rewind the tape or whatever. Yeah, I do. I am someone who enjoys an artistic experience from beginning to end.
Right.
Whether there's parts of it I enjoy less or more, it's definitely it's a quirk that I have. It's a neurotic thing where I just want to know that I'm getting the full experience. Honestly, I think it is kind of a minor, some kind of variation of FOMO for me. That I'm like,
Right.
but what if there's something there that brings something else out in another part?
But I don't think
It
that's a fear of
matters.
missing out. You just want to see how the artist, the director, the song composer
Partially, yeah.
envisioned it. It's like wanting to go to a movie theater. you want to see these movies on how they were supposed to be seen, on a big screen in a room with people who couldn't be on their phones or whatever.
I also will like never get up to go to the bathroom during a movie.
Well,
to
I've known you for 20 years. I've never seen you go to the bathroom.
It's something I will not reveal on this show whether or not I even do it.
Right.
So
I don't think you do.
it's, it's a bit of a
But
mystery. I also will related if I'm at home, I don't like pausing a movie
right.
much unless I really have to. Like I don't want to I cannot stand watching half of a movie one night and half the second night
Oh
cuz
god, I can't do that.
I need to be in that zone or it's not gonna be the same.
Right.
It was designed to be watched in a sitting. It's just a little thing, which
Well,
all
that's
of this
why
stuff is
like
kind of related, I think.
but that's why I also do that with TV shows. That's why like I prefer to watch a TV show now in a full season sitting. Because like I don't not that I don't want to forget, but it's like also like you don't want to get
Well,
lost.
yeah, modern shows more and more often, especially with Netflix, are designed assuming you're going to do
Right.
that. Back in the day, I saw. I can't say back in the day anymore. I'm not that old, but I will keep saying it. You watch a show like Buffy or X Files, and there's an ongoing story arc, but there's a good chance they're gonna bring you up to speed, even if you've seen the
Yeah.
whole show. If it's been a few weeks, they're gonna be like, here's a couple little tidbits. You remember what this character did and that character did.
Last
A
week
lot
on
of shows
Battlestar
now,
Galactica.
right? Yeah, sure. You watch something like a Stranger Things now, they're not holding your hand like that. They're like, it's basically an 8-hour movie
Yeah.
you're watching straight through. So
Because
I understand that.
there's a few like baking shows on Netflix or like the game show style shows on Netflix where it's like that at the end of said episode, there'll be like a new episode starting in 3, 2, 1. And they like the host will do that at the end of it. Right.
Oh wow, they know what's going on these days. They're
Right.
savvy.
Which I kind
Well,
of like that because they're like, we know what you're doing. And it gets us to watch all the other shows that like they want you to watch them all in one sitting because they want their numbers to be up at the start of the production.
right, right, right. But getting back to Skip specifically
Right.
and the skipping. Yeah, I feel that one thing about Skip's behavior that you were kind of getting to earlier, it is rather presumptuous, isn't it? It's rather like they're assuming this scene they know what's going to happen because they've seen it before.
Right.
And they could be right, but they could be wrong. That's one issue is maybe they don't know and maybe they're being a little arrogant about their
Well, it also depends on like what show. Like if you're watching Law and Order season 57, like you kind of know the layout of the show. So like, sure, do you know like, oh, when they're in the courtroom, I could walk away to go reheat my coffee or something. But like, unless you're watching those, I call them now network shows, which are have a different meaning than they did back when we were kids. They're bad now.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That's it. You don't really have that. You don't know what's going on. It's not a repeat of the same script every week. But even then, like, I would still, even if it was the same exact format every week, I still wouldn't do it.
Well, then, yeah, because the next question is, why are you really watching
Right.
something?
Right.
Is it simply to, uh, you know, receive a list of facts and sequences of events that occurred and understand them and acknowledge them and move on, or are you there to experience characters and
Right.
story? Because I'm thinking of like I recently rewatched The Sopranos, and sure there's scenes where I could have been like, I know how this is going to play out. Tony's going to whack this guy or whatever it
Right.
is. But if you're like you said, if you're just watching it to find out what happens, you can Google that and find out what happens.
Right.
But usually in a well-made show, it's more about appreciating for example, the acting, the performances, the
Right.
the
The camera angle,
cinematography.
right,
Yeah, I mean, there's basically it feels like Skip is really reducing media to simply the plot
right.
when I often feel that plot is the least important thing in a movie.
Exactly. Because you wanna be well immersed. Like, they've spent millions of dollars, thousands of hours trying to figure out, like, "Oh, what color stapler goes on this desk to fully make it a immersive experience." Yeah, that was an extreme thing, but, you know, they pay people
In
to
Office Space,
pull
that was
you.
very important.
It's true, it was blue, right? They pull you in to this scene. They build it's like going to a theme park and going, I'm just gonna close my eyes while I'm in queue for these lines and not see any of the buildup for it. Just give me
Right?
the ride and that's it.
Yeah, I'll just I see the outside. I read a description of it. My friend told me they wrote it, and I've been on a roller coaster before. I see there's a
Right. So
loop. I'll
what
go through it. I know what a
it's
loop
fine.
is. I
Right.
know what that will feel. I've done that before.
Right. Why do I need to
Yeah,
go to Disney when I can just go to Great Adventure? It's the same thing.
essentially, it comes down to the time old tale as old as time old, tested, fashioned, timed, and mother approved thing. Don't
Uh-huh.
worry. Sorry, I had a minor stroke, but it's past now.
I
Of
skipped
the
through this part of the
journey.
podcast. I'm sorry.
I get it. The journey versus the destination, right?
Right.
It's unless you are watching. I'm trying to think like the Oscars, for instance, is a great example of, or depending on who you are. I would probably, this isn't true for a lot of sports fans, but some sports games, it's like, maybe I wasn't home that night. I want to know the score. Just
Right.
tell me the score. Or like for the Oscars for me, just tell me who won, and I'll find, and maybe I'll watch some of the speeches later. But
Right.
like scripted fictional media is not just about the like what happens, unless you are
Right.
watching like maybe other. I'm trying to think of a scripted example. It's not, maybe like not a documentary, maybe like a true crime show or something.
Maybe
Like you
the
said, Law and
debates.
Order.
Am I right? Sorry. Oh,
Oh, I think you're a little like the presidential debates.
yeah, I guess so.
Okay, yeah, it's not.
I'm
It'll
a
be
little
topical at
early
some
or a
point.
little late. It's fine.
Yeah, I was like, is there another debate I'm missing? I wasn't sure.
Well, I go to my local high school's debate club every week and just watch them.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought that they didn't allow you over there anymore.
Oh, they don't.
Okay, you wear a little mustache.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's a perfect disguise for you. So yeah, but yeah, I think I think it's not. This is not something I agree with or do personally. I think that Skip is really robbing themselves of an experience.
Right.
But
And also, like, what else do they do? I mean, they listed what they did this for, but like, it's like skipping a cutscene in a video game.
hmm,
Like
interesting.
that's
What do
like
you?
you're missing story. You're missing. Like I
A
would
lot of
never
people
do
do
that.
that.
I can't.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I wouldn't either. Some games, the cutscenes don't matter at all. But
But
yeah, I
you're
mean,
that's
well,
part of the game.
I also feel like,
Well,
you
depend.
know,
Yeah.
if you, my feeling is if you bought a video game, you might as well like get your money's worth and
Well, that's the same
experience
thing
all
with
of it.
we're buying these shows.
True, you're paying for, but maybe Skip would argue like, yeah, well, I watched 15 shows last month. You only watched one because I just skipped through the
Well, yeah.
parts. Which you could, whether or not that feels like skipping a show. But I wonder, like, would they do this with a comedy? Because
Right.
that's something where maybe you understand what's going to happen in the story, but you're there for the jokes. Like, just
Right.
there's just so many examples where there's things you're going to miss.
Well, that's like because most of the things I consume are some kind of comedy or some kind of like action. So it's like for an action movie, what are you going to skip the fight scene leading up to the fight scene? Like you need all that. Like there's a formula for how things like this work. And even like I've made movies and taken film classes, and I know like I can skip certain things because like I know where the lulls are going to be and where stuff, but I wouldn't because that goes just against everything that I am trained for.
Yeah. Well, so I think we both agree that
Skipping is good.
we we both disagree with this practice in our personal lives.
Like,
But
because I'm like,
but
is there anything
yeah.
that you would skip? There's really like you said, sporting events. I mean, I skip those fully, but like, there's really nothing I would skip for. Like we said, the Oscars, the news, but that's not really
Yeah. In terms of fictional, for me, it comes down to like something that is scripted, an artistic medium. The only thing I can really think of that just came to mind is if I'm watching a really bad movie as a joke,
well.
I'll skip around.
That's when my phone comes out.
Sure, but then why are you even, like this is when it's,
Right.
maybe I'm with some friends or something and we're,
But like even like for like sports, yeah, they have something called like the red zone on for NFL football, NFL. Yeah, uh, we sports a lot. I had to figure out what the F in NFL stood
you
for.
got it. You got it.
So it's like whenever they go into the quote unquote red zone, or when they're going to score, they just start recording that segment of football game. So like that would be the only thing that would make sense for me.
Right. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe a reality show like a Survivor or something like that.
That's an interesting thing because my partner's grandmother would record on her DVR or whatever, like American Idol or America's
Mm,
Got Talent or something like that, and she would
right.
fully skip over the sob stories that they always have with them, like, oh yeah, I the singer's like, I lost my mom and she was in the war and da da da, and then here's my song. She would skip that entire thing, and go right to the song.
Right. Yeah, I don't blame her for that.
Well, yeah. So that would be like the only stuff that I would like reality TV or stuff like that, or even like one of the big ones that I even still do it for is like when we're watching Battlestar Galactica. They have
Uh-oh.
in the there's a certain like the recaps of shows. Speaking of older
Yeah.
shows
Yeah,
that you
yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
skip for, or even on the new like on Star Trek Discovery, like the what happened last week on Star. Like you can kind of we skip over that stuff because it doesn't really inform you and it might hinder some of the things you are watching, but that's not main storyline.
Right. Yeah, no, I always skip previously ons unless it's been a while since I've watched it, and I will also skip the next time's ons
Now,
usually.
Netflix is big for this. Do you? And I don't think you probably do this. Do you skip the intro?
It depends on the show because there are like again, The Sopranos theme song is like a full minute and a half long.
Right.
So if you're like binging a show, sometimes it's like I don't need to watch. If a theme song
Right.
is 30 seconds or less, I won't skip it. Sometimes I think it's crazy. Some shows on Netflix, like even Stranger Things, that intro can't take longer than 12 seconds.
Right.
Or something's like Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad. It's literally like a 5-second music clip. It's like you can't, you have to skip that four
Exactly.
seconds.
Yeah.
Like come on,
But like going
just
back to like the 90s when a theme song was a full minute and 20 seconds
the theme song
introducing every
explained the whole
character.
show. Yeah.
Right. Like we watch like let's say Frasier or whatever, we will skip the theme song because nothing changes from time to time. It's literally the exact same thing for 28 episodes for 11 years.
He won big last night at the Oscars. That was exciting, Frazier.
That was different person.
No, what? Okay,
Not no. No, you're
I didn't
go to
know.
sleep, grandpa.
I had another joke too, but that one came into my head at the same time, and I forgot the first one. Do you think I hope
Now
I made the right call?
now did winning big, was that like a fat joke? Because he
No,
was
but
big.
oh, that's
Right.
true.
Right.
That's
And but
funny.
but Tom Hanks didn't win. He was in a movie called Big, and he was also in Elvis. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. All
I'll
the
see myself
Zoomers will
out.
look it up. They'll look
Right.
it up.
Right.
But I think I think again, we don't agree with Skip's practice necessarily. However, I will make a point in Skip's favor, which is Skip is not, or are they? I don't know what you
You're
think,
right.
hurting anyone else by this practice. By all accounts, it seems
Mm.
by all accounts, it's one by one account. It seems that this is being done only when Skip is watching something alone. They're not making anyone else skip through anything. So, is that okay? Because it's a free country. You should be able to enjoy media however
Right.
you want to enjoy media, right?
Right.
Is that Can we give them
Yeah,
that
I
slack?
would, as long as they are alone and they are doing this by themselves. Sure, that's fine. But like, if you're watching with a group of friends and you like sigh when they are not skipping it, or you kind of make like a big stink, like, oh, you guys, can we skip this? Like, keep your personal things at home.
Could also be maybe irritating if you're trying to talk to this person about it, like, "Oh, did you watch last night's episode? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Remember this part?" And they're like,
No,
yeah. I
yeah.
remember that I figured that would happen."
Well, that's
That
the
could
other
be
thing. Like,
irritating.
they figured it would happen. Like, that's the part that kind of just pisses me off because it's like, who do you think you are? Like, do you write
Right.
films?
Yeah, no,
Like,
it's a little bit full of yourself to be like, "I
right,
know what's gonna happen." And
right,
don't get me wrong, sometimes you do,
right.
but
But that's the fun
usually,
of it.
yeah, it's not like the thing I'm kind of reiterating and repeating myself maybe a little bit, but it's not about, if you're just there to know what's gonna happen, movies are not puzzles.
Right,
A movie is not a riddle for you to solve, and once you figure out what's going to happen, you can turn it off and leave.
right.
It's there to evoke emotions in you. And how can you ever get invested in a story, or how can a story make you cry or feel sad or joyous if every 5 minutes you're thinking to yourself, should I skip this? Like, you're never immersed in the
Exactly.
moment.
Right. You never like, oh, do I need to know this? Will this fill up my personal hard drive of space? Like, do I need to keep this in my brain? And you're right. It's a full experience. Like, even there's been plenty of movies where I'm sitting there going, "Oh yeah, that guy is definitely the killer." But
Sure.
you are also like, you're there for the whole thing. There's side quests in these movies that they want you to think about. There's, you want to look at the pretty scenery. You want to look at the background characters. There's stuff that's important. And like I said, we're repeating ourselves, but like, that's what you're going to a film or a show to do.
It's the friends we made along the way, is what it is.
It's true.
I'm ready to hand down my verdict.
Yeah, I think I'm going to let you go first on this one.
All right. Well, I've considered it for roughly 42, 43 minutes.
Yep.
And again, I absolutely, to be frank, I abhor this practice. I do
Wait,
not think that this is.
what? Who are you?
No, 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 no,
I
no.
thought you were Han.
I'm well. My middle name is Frank. No, we're not. No, 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 no. It's Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Not to get too sidetracked here. So anyway, Han. It's a nickname you could use for me.
Right.
And now my verdict. I do not like the practice that Skip endorses here. I don't agree with it. I think it is wrong. However, as we also laid out, Skip is not hurting anyone else, and if they enjoy the experience of watching things this way, more power to them. That's how they should enjoy things. However, they are still ultimately, I think, mostly hurting themselves, and they should have more self-respect. Damn it. They deserve better than that. They deserve to experience a movie or a TV show the way it was intended to be experienced,
God
all the way
damn it.
through from beginning to end, out of respect for the creators of the show and themselves. And therefore, I cannot condone this practice, and I must hand down a verdict of guilty.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I do feel exactly the same way. You can't fully get you can't call yourself a fan of a show or say you're enjoying the show if you're only watching a segment of the show. You can't, like, I think you're a little bit too lenient on them, because I know if this was one of us, you would hardcore judge how we were doing this and be like, you're ridiculous, and because we've had conversations like this, and That's why we have a podcast like this, so we can judge these people. And if I was friends with Skip, I just wouldn't discuss media because clearly they're not a, I don't want to say media purist because that makes me sound like a douchebag, but they're not a media purist. They're not, watching this to watch it. They're watching it to keep up on the message boards. They're watching this to just get like, oh, so I go to work tomorrow. I can say, oh yeah, I saw when so and so murdered so and so. They're just trying to boil it down to the so and so show.
Yeah, it's almost worse than because I there are people that I know that will
What?
sometimes just read a Wikipedia summary of a movie or something.
Right.
But at least that I feel like is you're being honest with yourself
Right.
that you don't really want to watch this movie. You're just curious. Just tell me what happens.
Right.
This is this strange middle ground. You're like, yeah, I watched it, but I didn't watch all of it.
Yeah.
Just go all in or don't go in at all. And you're
Skip
right.
is lying to themselves.
Yeah, as an impartial judge, I'm trying to see both sides of it, but you're right that I do think perhaps Skip deserves the death penalty.
Right. I know
That
you.
said,
I see it in your eyes
and
because like
maybe yeah,
we
what?
are both content creators. We have made some kind of content. We're making content right now. And I would, if I knew someone was skipping segments of the show, I would kind of be upset because I'm like, then why am I making this show? Like
Yeah,
sure, Skip is the minority. I'm assuming I don't know many people who actually do this,
they could be
but like,
white. We don't know.
but that's why like websites like Quibi started and then failed for people who don't want to see a full TV. Was it called Quibi?
It was called Quibi.
They're like a 30-second show have started and then failed, and then shows from that network moved on to make another show that's a full feature show. So like there are people who like want to view the full show. So that's why I think Skip is extremely guilty.
Well, what's our
Extremely.
punishment here? How are we going to sentence the guilty Skip?
Hmm. Listen, watch all my verdicts. Not verdict. My sentencing would be you have to watch all shows on 0.5. You have to watch the full show in stretch, elongated form, just slow and just
I like that. I don't think I can beat that. Yeah, I was thinking maybe they can't maybe they don't get to watch anything at all anymore. They have to learn to or they
That's a
have
good
to
one.
go back and watch all the scenes they've missed out of context.
Or you could only
So
watch TikToks.
I
If you
think
if you want these short segments and these short shows, you could only watch them on TikTok. You can't call yourself a TV owner anymore.
yeah, and hopefully within the next few years all movies and TV shows will be given to us via TikTok.
And also, I think, Skip, your punishment should be having to support us on Patreon over at patreon.com/geeks on trial for just a few bucks a month. And you can help support the show and get early access to videos, audio, and other things in the future.
That might be too good of a punishment because being a patron of this show is so rewarding.
Right.
We would love it if you would sign up for that. It would really help us out. Let us know what you'd like to see on the Patreon in the future. And if you don't feel like doing that right now, money's tight, you can still help us out by subscribing and reviewing us on iTunes. Give us a rating and a review over there. That really does go a long way to boost the show.
And tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell whoever. Just tell people while you're walking down the street that we exist.
Tell them, skip through a show and text us while you're not watching it.
Exactly.
And also submit your own case to us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. If you have maybe a friend or maybe you're the person who's been ostracized by your friend group who has done something like this in the world of geekdom,
I have been.
get over to us. We will indeed settle your case here on the show, or you can use our handy dandy form, which has a link in the episode description.
It's both handy and dandy. Hey, Jonathan, what are you doing when you're not recording this show or judging people?
When I'm not recording this show or judging people, you can follow me on Twitter at Quentz, or you can find my personal projects, other podcasts, and fun things to enjoy at jonathanestis.com.
Amazing. You can find all my stuff. I am the Snack Guy over on YouTube, youtube.com/the Snack Guy. And you can follow me on all social media as Ivan R. Hahn.
Wow, we did it. Another one in
Sure.
the books. Thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully you agree with our verdict, but if not, you'll let us know. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Ivan, and we'll see you.